Welcome back to another episode, Highly Debated. Welcome back to another episode of Highly Debated. We're at episode 5 now, and we're going to be going over Dmitry Bivol versus Beterbiev 2. And what a fight. What a fight. What else can you say, man? We talked about it in the last episode here. If Beterbiev was to win this fight, he had to start the way he ended the last fight, continuing to keep on pressuring Bivol to tire him out, but also go to the body. We saw that in the first 3 rounds that Beterbiev started going heavy under pressure, started chasing Bivol around, but what we didn't see from him is consistent body punching at all. Personally speaking, I would have liked to seen a little more body punching, but Beterbiev came out in the first round in a great fashion. Honestly, I thought he was going to run away with the fight. I thought that he pretty much started the second fight the way he ended the first fight, which is just constant pressure, constantly trying to corner Bivol and his game plan really was to put the pressure on Bivol and not let him escape. But I think what he did not anticipate was that Bivol was going to come in better shape, and Beterbiev did not anticipate that Bivol was actually going to come in better shape. And credit to Bivol that he was able to weather the storm, because the first 3 to 4 rounds, I thought that Beterbiev was starting to gain confidence, and really Bivol needed a stand in that round. If you look at the fight between the first 2, probably the 4th round, Beterbiev is just coming down on Bivol consistently. And although Bivol was landing the crispier punches, you could just tell that if the fight continued in that manner, that if you get Beterbiev to start rolling downhill without being threatened, it's a wrap. He's going to knock you out eventually without question. For 12 rounds, if he starts to fight like that, 12 rounds, he's going to land something significant. But what ended up happening is that Bivol started to land combination punches, and I think some of those were sharp enough, heavy enough to make Beterbiev think twice. And actually, if you see those, Beterbiev just couldn't stand in there very long because you could only take so many punches. I don't think Bivol is a light puncher whatsoever, but I think he has respectable power, especially when he's landing 3 to 4, and then let's say half of those are power punches. The other ones were kind of like not necessarily with the worst intentions, but these are light heavyweights, so anything they land, it's going to be of greater impact than, let's say, the little guys. But Bivol started to beautifully counterpunch Beterbiev, and I think that's what ended up making the difference, that and the conditioning. So in the last episode I said the keys to victory, the simplest key to victory would be combination punching and to stay on that bike, stay on the movement. Don't let Beterbiev corner him whatsoever. And then on the moments that he was cornered, he did a really good job in getting out. And Beterbiev was also a little bit gassed, if you ask me. If you ask me, Beterbiev got gassed throughout this fight. They were talking about his age a lot, and there is an impact. I think that does play a role. He is nearly 40. So it's not like he's a spring chicken by any means, but he is a guy that seems to live a very, very disciplined lifestyle, even outside of fighting, because he's always in shape. You never seen him out of shape, and he feels good at this weight. He previously spoke before this fight saying that he doesn't mind staying at this weight. So we'll see what's to come with him. Kudos to Bivol. He absolutely went into a flow state at one point into the fight because he was just absolutely on fire. The combination punching, the way he was evading some of the onslaught from Bivol. Bivol's a big guy. He has a lot of power. So when he's coming down on you, it's not necessarily the easiest guy to get out of the way. And for Bivol's size, he does a really good job of just, ducking, using his jab to get out of situations. If you notice, he had a couple jab combinations where he was in a corner, and it reminded me a lot of Sugar Ray Leonard, where he would jab his way out of the corner. So he would go pop, 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 like 4 or 5 jabs, and then simultaneously, laterally move his way out of the corner. So I thought that was very cool. His combination punching, I haven't seen combination punching like this in a long time. It reminded me a little bit of Juan Manuel Marquez. He would do 1, 2, 3, 4. Beterbiev would answer. He would counter punch behind that with another combination, and that's very Juan Manuel Marquez in his later years. Like, that's very good combination punching. And I believe I mentioned that in the last episode, that if he wanted to secure the bag, he would have to do what he did successfully in the last fight. But I think what happened here is that, Beterbiev came out 100% gun blazing, trying to just run over Bivol. I think he thought from the last fight, the way it ended, he thought, if I just start sooner, I'll crack this guy. But what I think he didn't anticipate was that Bivol actually was willing to stand his ground with his combination punching. And then when Beterbiev tried to get off in response, he was really good about getting out of the way, counter punching there. And then really, he did that throughout the fight. So kudos to him, because that is not an easy task. I know that they were planning on doing the third fight already. Turki Al-Sheikh was talking about that already. So they're very evenly matched, but a third fight so soon, back to back, when they're only fighting each other. I don't necessarily know if we're going to learn anything different. I think it's going to come down again. I know he won majority decision on the cards, but a lot of those rounds were close in the sense of Beterbiev was not getting outclassed entirely. It was more of Bivol, finally, when you look up Dmitry Bivol and what's going to define him as a fighter, I think this fight and the way he performed against Canelo, it's going to pretty much going to be the dictionary definition of what his fighting style is like. Very on his toes, lots of combination, gets out of the way of responses, and then counter punches on the counter punches. So great job by Dmitry Bivol. I would love to see a third fight, but call me crazy, I would like to see. The thing is, you would have to do the third fight right away, because Beterbiev is getting old by the minute. And what could happen is that he starts to slip because of his age, kind of like Triple G did by the time that Canelo fought him. So I don't know if it would be a better idea for him to just, I don't know if to maybe sit out, or he takes someone else. Imagine him against Morel. He would probably destroy Morel, but it would be a good fight for sure, because Morel's young and we saw him, he could take it. But no, I don't think Morel, someone else ranked. But the reason I say that is because I would like to see Bivol right now, this Bivol versus David Benavidez. That would be a very interesting fight. So we'll see what happens, because apparently that's not what Turki Al-Sheikh, pretty much the godfather of all of this, the one with all the money making all of this happen, he didn't necessarily say that. He said that if Bivol won, there would be a trilogy. And I was a little bit scared that maybe there was a fix in. But why would there be a fix? They're not making money from this. So it's a little bit confusing. But congratulations to Dmitry Bivol. Although I don't agree with the shit he does outside of the ring, inside of the ring on that Saturday, he was the man. And really, they're meant for each other. But I still want to see more exchanges. This is still very high level boxing. So it wasn't like we were getting the best exchanges. And I think there was other fights that were a little more entertaining in the terms of landing punches and the way the fight unfolded. I thought this was a very highly skilled, highly contested fight, because some of the rounds that Dmitry Bivol won, they could have been won if Beterbiev did a little bit better. So it wasn't like all the rounds were blowouts, you know what I'm saying? But he did win enough. He did do enough throughout those rounds where I thought, okay, Bivol is definitely winning from 6 onwards. He just didn't let off. He was just going to work. So, it was a great fight by him. And I would love to see him fight David Benavidez, someone who has a lot of volume and who pressures very well. So that would be a very interesting fight. I don't know if Benavidez could hurt Bivol. We saw him take giant punches from Beterbiev where they exchanged right hands, and dude was staggered in the 4th or 5th round when I was looking at the highlights. And bro, I don't know. I think he stops. He could probably stop David Benavidez, bro, because he could crack. He could definitely crack. And Beterbiev really has a world-class chin by the way he was taking some of those punches. And we knew that about Canelo from fighting Triple G. So it checks out again against Bivol, because we know Bivol can crack. So, I'm excited to see what happens. I would love to see a third fight, but call me crazy. If he takes on Benavidez next, and if Beterbiev just works on something or just sits on the sides to just make that happen, that'd be awesome. But I think what's gonna happen, they're gonna make the third fight, and then I don't know if David sits out. He might just take somebody else. I'm sure he'll take somebody else for sure. And in the co-main event, we had Joseph Parker against Martin Bokele, and what a crazy fight, bro. Dubois had a call out because he was sick. He got sick, and then I think it was the bird flu, but we'll see. Well, I think he got sick from a certain you-know-what that's going around. I can't really say it, or else I'll probably get flagged for something, knowing the way YouTube operates. But we had Martin Bokele from the Congo filling in for Dubois. And dude came in at like fucking 300 pounds or something. Massive individual, fights like George Foreman. And Joseph Parker cracks him right over the head, right on here. Bro, puts him down. Insane. And what was that round? That was the second round. So crazy power from Joseph Parker, bro. If he hits a man 300 pounds on the top of the head and puts him to sleep, I don't know if he's 300 pounds. I think he was 310 pounds, bro. Jesus Christ. Jeez. 310 pounds, 6'6". Whew. And then he knocked him out. You know, Joseph Parker, New Zealanders, boy, they could crack no matter what. But great performance by Joseph Parker. Dubois, he probably fucking dodged the bullet, bro. The way he fucking put out Bokele. Then before that, we had Zaid Almaouf versus Angel Oliveira. I really didn't watch that. Actually, I think that was one of the other cards. And then we had Shakur Stevenson. We saw that fight as well. I guess a good win by Shakur Stevenson. I think dude was like a 3-day, it's the same as Bokele. So what can you take away from that, bro? Dude was heavily outmatched. I told you that. He's gonna outbox him, so we didn't really learn much. Other than, I would love to see Tank, because if I learned anything, is that dude's pillow-handed, that's for sure. Shakur Stevenson's pillow-handed. Regardless of how good he is as a boxer, Tank Davis will walk through this man and then put him to sleep. Mark my words. Mark my words. I'm telling you right now, Tank Davis will put this man to sleep. 100%. Shakur Stevenson goes to sleep against Tank Davis. Tank will land. You're snoozing on him, bro. He's very athletic. But we'll see. We'll see. And then in another fight that I would like to point out is the Zhang versus Caballero. Crazy fight. Zhang knocks down Caballero in like the 5th round. Homie gets up. He gets knocked down from like a beautiful counter punch by Zhang while he was already tired. And then just starts chopping that tree down. And then by the end of what was that? The 6th round, Caballero was just completely destroying the midsection of Zhang, and you could just tell he was on chopping mode. So good job by Caballero. Nice performance. He showed he's got grit. He showed he's got speed. He showed he's got power. I think he's gonna be a challenge, but I don't know if he could handle maybe someone like Anthony Joshua, who has good boxing and who can also punch as well. Then Virgil Ortiz versus Madrimov. Oh, what is it? Madrimov. Virgil Ortiz versus Madrimov was also a good fight. Virgil Ortiz, geez, what a fight by him. I thought he put on a really good fight against a guy who had really good pedigree, especially good performance against Crawford. Ortiz, it was like, I would say it would be one of his fights where I thought that he might be there would be a good possibility that he would lose the fight, right? I wasn't thinking that. We spoke about it here. Madrimov has a really good record, so I think that coming into the fight, I wouldn't be surprised thinking if Ortiz lost, even though he's undefeated. And now we see why he's undefeated. Dude's got resolution. When Madrimov tried to land his punches and try to do his little jerky movement, he stayed calm and started landing his punches. And you could tell some of those punches were really hurting Madrimov. So it was a really good performance by Ortiz. That body work really paid off, something that Beterbiev needs to take a little bit of note of, because look what Ortiz did. He slowed down the quicker fighter. And on another note, I thought Ortiz looked huge next to Madrimov, which makes me wonder how big is Terence Crawford. If you look at that fight, he did look bigger than Madrimov, but not very much bigger. Ortiz looked a whole lot bigger. I don't know how big Ortiz is, but I don't think he's bigger than Canelo. So it makes me wonder how much bigger is Canelo than Crawford when they really stand in there on Fight Night, if they do ever fight. I think he's gonna lose because he's just too fucking little to like hurt a guy like Canelo. If he couldn't hit Madrimov, if he couldn't like put Madrimov to sleep the way Canelo does with like littler guys, What do you think he's gonna do to like a bigger guy like Canelo with all-time Triple G chin? Like he could take Triple G punches, but he can't handle a Crawford punch. What are we talking about here? The chin math ain't mathing, bro. But great performance by Ortiz. Can't wait to see his career take off a little more. This puts him right up there. This puts him in the conversations of the bigger fights. So kudos to him. Moving on to the UFC Fight Night, we have Henry Cejudo versus Song Yadong, and really ended up not delivering because of the eye poke. If you saw the fight, I feel like Henry Cejudo was doing decent. He was doing a lot of the classic feinting, coming in and out, doing his little jerky thing. But Song was staying really patient, and I think he was just waiting for the right opening, waiting for Cejudo to slow down a little bit. I think Cejudo started really strong, really fast, and what chaos he can cause within that so he can strike. But Song played it really well. He ended up poking Henry accidentally in the eye, and it was a really bad eye poke. I'm not gonna lie, but the damage on the eye at the time didn't look very bad. But I mean, dude got a fucking eye poke. I mean, I guess he was fucked up. His reaction, he didn't really look like his old self. I thought he looked like a guy who kind of has lost a step when you compare him to, let's say, it was a technical loss. So, you know, I think it'd be fair. He wanted to give it one more go, but I don't know who they put him up against. Dana White didn't sound like he was too happy. And I just want to point out the finish between Simon and Basharat. Dude, what a crazy knockout. Is that you'll have a whole night where it's just, you know, complete either knockout, submissions. You just never know. And that's what I love about the UFC, is that it's very unpredictable. And I also want to talk about UFC 314, talking about unpredictable. Sorry, I'm not quite sure where this left off because I think my mic is kind of like acting funny. So we have UFC 314. I wanted to go over the fights because as soon as I uploaded last week, Dana White let us know that UFC 314 was ready to go. We have Alexander Volkanovski versus Diego Lopez at the main event. Great opportunity for Lopez as Topuria has vacated a belt to move up to lightweight to try to chase the Islam belt. So we'll see how that goes for him. Personally speaking, I don't think it's a good idea to vacate a belt because last time that Jamal Hill did that, it didn't go too well for him. So we'll see where that goes. If I was Ilia Topuria, I would not have let go of that belt. You get pay-per-view points. Even if you lost, you could still move up on weight. If you try to like do both, I don't know. It'd still be better to be a champ to not be a champ. But in the sense of sportsmanship, I guess you gotta acknowledge it. But even then, bro, I am holding on to that belt. You fight your entire life and then you give it up to move up. It's either gonna be a genius move or not. But we'll see. He's probably gonna make a lot more money fighting Dustin Poirier. Then in the co-main event, we have Michael Chandler versus Paddy Pimblett. Woo, what a fight, bro. That's a great fight for Michael Chandler. Great fight for Paddy Pimblett. Paddy Pimblett, you know, is his biggest opposition in terms of skill, in terms of explosivity. Michael Chandler is going to provide that test that we've been asking for Paddy Pimblett. And for Michael Chandler, he has an opportunity to stay relevant within his division and, you know, derail a hype train that has been derailed slightly before. But truthfully speaking, Paddy hasn't really been, you know, tested to the depths that Michael Chandler could take a fighter. So I'm interested, really interested in that fight. Then we have Yair versus Patricio Pitbull from Bellator, a multiple-time Bellator champion, versus Yair Rodriguez, who we know is just a crazy output of offensive prowess. So can't wait to see that fight. That's going to be a great fight. Then we got Goff Neal versus Carlos Prates. That's going to be a great fight. Carlos Prates is on a tear right now. So I can't wait to see him fight versus Goff Neal. That's going to be a great fight. Then we have Nikita Krylov versus Dominic Reyes. That's going to be a good fight. Krylov, I think he's going to be a lot better than Reyes. Reyes has kind of been on a downfall hard after losing to John Jones. So we'll see. Then after that, we got Yan Xiaonan versus Vima Chandiroba, the Brazilian chick with the, you know, broccoli hair. I think that's going to be a good fight. Xiaonan, she always delivers, so great to see her again. And then we have Jim Miller versus Chase Hooper. Chase Hooper is a young gun. Jim Miller, as we know, he's going to be like that benchmark for the UFC talent. So we're going to see Jim Miller beat Jim Miller, and we're going to see Chase Hooper try to crack Jim Miller to see if he belongs in the UFC or if he's even close to UFC level type of fighter. But that's UFC 314. That is my reaction, and that's pretty much what I got for you this week. Let me know what you think about Bivol versus Beterbiev 2. I thought it was a really good fight, better than the second fight. I'm sorry, better than the first fight. First off, watching it live, I had Bivol winning. I thought that, like I said, he did exactly what I would have done if I was his coach. I would have recommended to increase the volume and not get caught in those corners, exactly how he did. I'm not taking any credit for this, but I'm just saying I called it. But that's what it is, man. Let me know what you guys think. Who do you want to see him fight next? Do you want to see the trilogy, or do you want to see Benavidez get a crack at undisputed right now? At Bivol at the tippity top. I thought it was a very close fight, but I'm not quite sure how much hype, how much demand there is for the trilogy in just 3 to 4 months. I don't know. But that's all I've got for you. We'll tune in next week to, I believe, is the Alex Pereira fight the week after that, but there's going to be some UFC also coming up. Let me double check right quick. So next week is going to be March 1st. I'm not going to preview it too much. It's No Cop versus Asu Bro, I can't even pronounce that last name. Then we got Cody Brundage versus Julian Marquez. Really, I'm just interested in the main event and the co-main event. Everyone else, I'll probably just watch the fights just for the sake of watching the fights, because I'll be out snowboarding. But I'll still react to them. And next week, I'll probably do a light reaction to these fights, but really going to be diving into UFC 313, which is Alex Pereira versus Magomed Ankalaev. Then Justin Gaethje versus Dan Hooker, bro. I can't wait for that episode. So I'm going to be doing my research, keeping up with social media. That one's probably going to be a little bit long because we're going to be doing that deep dive. And we're probably going to be talking about boxing as well. But let me know what you guys think. Who do you have for UFC 313 while we're at it? What did you think of the rematch? Do you want to see them fight again? And I'll catch up with y'all next week. Peace. Actually, here's Canelo so we can sign off.